So Dean, what's special about these carbs, more or less?
Constant velocity carbs. They're a little more complicated and they take a little bit more tuning to get right for modifications. There's 4 carbs, so they have to be all synced together. And then these specific CV carbs have that metal slide that has some other little special aspects of it. Most of them are that plastic with a rubber diaphragm slide, so they respond a little bit quicker, a little easier. But Hondas of this vintage have that big, heavy aluminum slide, so that's about it. But installation of them, not too difficult when you don't have an airbox.
I know, right?
We'll go through that. Right now I'm just checking that the clamps are in an orientation I can get at them once the carbs are on and tighten it up.
I know, right? So Dean, these pretty easy to work on for the most part?
Yes, they are.
I'm trying. Okay, that's what I was worried about actually, these cables.
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to put them back?
Doing it with the carburetors out of position like this is real easy because you have to get this snake down in here and find its little groove in the throttle assembly. And so yeah, it's easiest to just be out in the air like this. Get both the pull and the push cables in place. The choke's pretty easy once they're already on, so I'm not going to put that in, but I'll get that.
Box was still on.
Yeah, and when they're all hooked up, you don't have a lot of slack to work with.
Right.
So usually I'm taking them out the other side of the bike, and you can get them out just far enough to kind of tip them on end and access it.
Gotcha.
But you don't have a lot of slack to be able to work with it, so. It's really nice the way you have it in here right now. It makes my job easy.
Yeah, I think part of going to this new carb setup was the ease of working on it, really.
Yeah. I'm just going through here straightening the cable because any little kink as it goes through will give it some trouble.
Really?
Yeah. You can see that it's kind of kinked up like this.
Right.
So when the cable goes in, it stops there instead of just freely sliding in.
Gotcha.
So, little things that'll just make it easier for your throttle hand.
When does it become unusable? If it's got, I guess, the worst kink.
Fully kinked and frayed, then it's unusable.
Gotcha.
But usually they're still usable even though they're old. You just lube them up and make sure that the ends are straight.
Nice. So Dean, I was feeling really bad about tearing her apart, but I can't wait for it to be put back together. And I don't know if you noticed, you might have seen the initial seat, the whole OEM. We've cut it down since. We got the new seat on there. It's not perfect, but I kind of like the look of it.
Yeah, it is nice. That's a good color. Kind of ties into this bird.
That's exactly what we're going for. It's gonna be some gold accents. The front's gonna be that jigsaw front end.
Okay.
So it's gonna look pretty good, I think.
One thing with the jigsaw front end is that you're going to be a lot lower, and so the exhaust is going to be something that might hit when you're going over speed bumps.
Oh wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so these bikes are close to the ground anyway, and then once you lower it a little bit with a sport bike front end, it tends to happen.
Okay.
So I don't know if Cognito is making you a triple to match those, or what you were doing.
Oh yeah, we're gonna use some of the trip. I'll show it to you in a few minutes. It's actually down on the bottom of the bench. They have their triples. We have all the parts for sure.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know what their triple looks like, but it might have a drop or a raise in it that'll actually help you. But
Okay.
we'll see what it looks like once it's all together.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then once you get the, actually it might be the generation of the 750s have that nice emblem on it.
Yeah, I kind of like it. You know, I was whether or not to repaint it. And I was like, you know what? I think the patina.
It's never original, or it's only original once.
Exactly.
Yep.
I figured maybe 3/4 original might work. I done chopped off the back end.
Yeah, but
So
that's good.
yeah,
I really liked this silver scheme.
yeah, I like the whole red and
My CBX is a 79, and it's similar
I
silver.
think yours has some blue to it. I like that color combo as well. Do you see any rubbers or anything you think? I was looking at these and the guys were saying, well, you should be using them. They're not brittle or breaking off. So what are your thoughts on the rubber?
Yeah, I agree. It looks like it's going to be fine. They'll push in a little harder than some. Do you have the clamp actually for this number 4? All right, those are gearbox. It's not gonna work. It's not hard when it's on the outer edge like this.
I wonder. Yeah, it looks like they're all the same size. Well known in the motorcycle community in the Richmond area.
I guess so.
Well, they gotta know you now.
Yeah, that'd be fine. All right, so yeah, that tightened up nice. I'll
Yeah.
just check the other ones to make sure we don't need to add any
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, that's on there.
Those are the ones that you definitely want to be tight.
Oh, the outer ones?
Yeah. That's your first point of highest vacuum from the engine.
Gotcha. So normally you do the outside ones first? Is that your pattern, or does it really matter?
Doesn't matter. Usually it's on some bikes doing the inside first is mandated because where the clamps line up.
Right.
Do this one first.
Looks like that one is tightening nicely.
Tighten right up. To lightly hold them in place because it's easier with 4 carbs. Just have something to help.
Yeah.
But never tighten them too tight with that ratchet strap because you can bend the mounting plates.
Gotcha. That makes sense. How much harder you think it is when that big old box is in there?
It's nearly impossible on the 750s because the frame and airbox.
Yeah.
Way they're actually less space than the 900s and the 1100s.
Yeah, when I was taking that off, it was a nightmare getting those to those low cables.
Really difficult, and for no reason. I don't know why they didn't give them more space. I think that's part of the reason people get rid of the airbox.
Yeah, because
It's just such
if you ever have to get to it, it's. Now, when you sync the carb, how much more do you have to do?
For this bike, you take the seat and gas tank off, and then you can just get at those synchronization screws, and then there's ports. There's 4 of them on the engine itself that
Gotcha.
you put a little adapter in, and then you got the sync thing. So really, it's not a terrible amount of work. It's just getting.
That's interesting.
So they popped in. I'm just making sure that they're all the way seated.
So I take it Honda didn't send this this particular method
No,
in the manual,
no, for sure not.
but this is definitely efficient.
Yeah, it's easy with one person to do it this way.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I was trying to think, how do I get this thing back on? So
Yep.
never thought of a ratchet strap.
It's being a little stubborn.
Just on this side.
Yeah, this number 1. Oh, that's why it got turned.
Oh.
Face straight up, and that's not. So I need
it should
to
be like
redo that.
right
Yep.
here.
Number one should be straight up.
Oh, wow.
Because they're angled a certain way to be able to fit.
Gotcha. So you would have to take the whole thing off, or just the number one?
I think I'm gonna try just number one.
And just trying to turn it?
Yeah. Too much pressure.
Too much
so we get
pressure.
to do it again.
Oh, wow.
Not terrible.
That's actually neat to see, because I was wondering how that goes back in.
See if we can just get number one and two out. And they're all gonna come out. There we go. But those boots are near impossible to find, so do what you can.
So how do you think the new ones hold up compared to the older boots? You think it's apples and apples when you use the new stuff, the new manufactured stuff, or if you could salvage the old stuff?
Really, you gotta try and find the original Honda ones, which you can get from dealerships that still have old stock.
Wow, old stock, huh?
Yep. That's the stuff that works, is the old original stuff. Years instead of the you can get. Sure, they're cheap, but it doesn't last more than a few years and a few heat cycles.
Yeah, that makes
Then they're hard or cracked or both.
that makes sense.
Or it's just a finger. That's better. Okay, so I'll tighten it up.
So number is supposed to be right at the very top.
Number one, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So out of all the older stuff, what do you think this CB750 Super Sport and some of the CBs stand as far as, you know,
Oh, they're
how time has?
They are
Have they
very
aged?
fun. I think they age well. They look good. They handle pretty good for an old bike. You know, if you're comparing to, say, an early 70s Honda or any early 70s, these were just very sporty.
Yeah.
So they are still fun today for sure.
Do you have an exhaust on yours as well, or?
Yes. I've got on my CBX I have a Russ Collins exhaust, which Russ Collins is a racer from way back in that day, and that has a great sound and good performance. My other two Hondas have kind of a mix of aftermarket pipe components, but they're 4-into-1.
Gotcha. Like you. Is there any benefit to doing any internal work to these bikes?
Yes. 750s don't suffer from it as much as the 900s and 1100s do, but the cam chain and guide and tensioner tend to fail on the bigger displacement bikes because they have a longer stroke. That longer stroke means you have a longer chain, and they didn't really change the design, so the 900s had a lot of failures on cam chains, which unfortunately with an interference style engine took care of ruining the head and valves and everything because piston hit the valve.
Well, So it was catastrophic.
Yep. Yeah, happened to me actually on one of my 900s.
Is there anything to do to keep that from happening?
Keep track of oil changes. Make sure you do those religiously, because
What's the interval you're thinking for these older bikes?
3,000 miles at
Same.
most, or once a year,
Once a
whatever
year.
comes first.
Okay.
I always change before the end of the year, before I put it away, or before I ride less, because the oil gets acidic and gets moisture in it.
You actually winterize here in Virginia? I kind of ride my bikes here alone.
I haven't until this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
What changed? You're just not riding it much?
Not riding as much. I've got a 2-year-old, so
That's right.
he takes up quite a bit of my time.
Yeah, that happens.
And the mechanic work at my shop is getting pretty busy, so I don't have a lot of free time.
That's awesome.